Hey everyone and welcome. In this video we look at an article, the one and only Douglas Murray, and it's in the Telegraph. It pretty much says what we've been saying since we gave the Tories a majority in the Houses of Parliament. And what have we been saying? Well, if you're like me, you've been shouting loud and proud, didn't we vote for a Conservative government? Yeah, we did vote for a Conservative government that has turned into the spineless debacle that is now completely cooked lefty Tories. So we have two choices, don't we, in general elections in the future? We've got Champagne Socialists, which is Labour, and now we've got the completely inadequate Prosecco Tories with Conservative, both wanting more and more nanny state, as well as all the other freedoms they want to remove for fee-fees. Two cheeks of the same arse, two wings of the same bird, aren't they? I'm sick to death of this appalling excuse for the Conservative Party. They deserve the same fate as we gave Labour scum last election. Not one thing so far that's been promised has been done in decades by them. It's only got worse under the Tories, and now Boris wants to restrict what we drink, what we eat, and when we do it as well. There is still time for Boris Johnson to return to the principles that will save the country from calamity. For the first time ever, Douglas, you said something I can't agree with. They can't do anything, they've lost the Northern vote again. Doesn't matter what they do now. What Pretty did after Farage exposed illegals in the Essex Hotel, Pretty's seat, signed and sealed it for most people, I'll be honest. She and the Tories apologised to Essex for having illegals in the hotel in her seat. How did she fix it? She moved them all up north. What? That's right, the north, where the economical damage has been felt the worst. Everyone I've spoken to about this up north are incensed and won't be voting for the Tories again unless they get a grip on the country, that is. For me, it proves them all as swamp fraggles, just like the rest of them. Let's read the article and see how Douglas thinks the Tories could redeem itself and see if we agree, shall we? Government debt this week topped $2 trillion for the first time. At over 100% of GDP, we are now in the midst of a financial disaster such as this country has not experienced since the 60s. All of it under a Conservative government with an 80-seat majority.
And I do believe that we have rotten politics, and I'm not using that as an exaggeration. I now have lost all confidence.
Good start, Douglas. They have proven less than worthless at conserving anything, haven't they? But let's continue. Of course, the government supporters like to point out that nobody saw the COVID crisis coming and these are unusual times. Yeah, but the things they're doing to combat it now are unusual because it's not killing anyone anymore, is it? Yet as the weeks of economic inertia drag on, I find it myself less and less impressed. Me too. All times are unusual and no government ever came into office only to be given a clear run to do everything it wanted to do. Tony Blair, entering number 10 in 1997, never expected that his political legacy would be tied up by 9/11 and endless ongoing wars in the Middle East. But there it is. It's the nature of events when every government has to meet unexpected challenges. Unfortunately, our elites in 2020 are more concerned with fee-fees, aren't they, everyone? And capitulation to pressure groups, the EU, and anyone else that wants to go by the look of it. Boris Johnson came into office hoping to get Brexit done and a few other things.
Because his basic promise was, get Brexit done!
Perhaps he hoped to please his partner by making a big show of saving the whale on the side.
Get Brexit done!
Yet here we are at the fag end of his 9th month in office.
Get Brexit done!
With unemployment and government debt rocketing. And nor is that the only problem. Rather, it is just the most extreme example of what life is always like in government. As ever, the test is not what events are thrown at you, but rather how you react to them. What complete cookery and submissiveness. Because that's what the Tories are doing, isn't it? What is most concerning is that there is barely a problem this government has encountered that it is not responded to with a left-wing solution. 100% agree with you on that one, Douglas. The left, if they stop crying long enough to look through the bottom of the soy latte glasses, they'd see the Tories have implemented pretty much everything they wanted, haven't they? Whether it is public spending or initiatives like yet another anti-obesity drive, the answer time and time again is that whatever the problem, can be provided by the in particular state largest, thus their ability to run up levels of debt more ordinarily associated with Labour governments just before a landslide defeat. Yes, we're talking Brown there, scumbag. Is any of this a sign of Conservative instinct? No, it is not, Douglas. And we the people have had enough of these absolute buffoons interfering in our lives. More and more of our freedoms are being eroded, and the Conservatives aren't conserving any of them, are they? Even on issues that should be a cinch for any natural Conservative, this government has been inert at best. You might have expected that a Conservative government would be able to stand up for British history. No such luck. I'll never forgive them for that one. Never. When left-wing anarchists began tearing down our statues, they're not anarchists, they're communists. Well, Marxists, but isn't Marxism the first stepping stone to communism? Of course it is. The government remained largely silent. Largely silent, not one of them said a thing. Barricading itself inside it as surely as it next had to barricade up the cenotaph and the statue of Winston Churchill. Policing is dead. You might think that a Conservative government would find it easy to defend our borders, but it seems to require Nigel Farage to make an issue of this for ministers to take notice and head down to the Channel just to stare at the water for an hour or two. And a lot of others, Douglas, as you well know, but I'll let you off, as you are a voice of reason like Farage, that the establishment can't belittle, smear or defame like us. So I will let you off with that comment, and you might have thought that the Conservative government would have done what Conservatives have always been best at and raised up people of ability, whatever their economic or social background. Yet before ministers hastily U-turn the exams fiasco of this summer threatened to do exactly the opposite, they also brought in diversity quotas, didn't they, Douglas? Which effectively eradicated best person for the job, i.e. hired on merit. Yeah? So it's eradicated the best person for the job in all of our institutions. Is it any wonder we have a shite system now? From law to media to schooling, all have been eradicated of competence. But what say you, everyone? You think I'm right? While students at our best schools, especially private schools, were given the most generous results, students who are high achieving and ambitious, but unfortunate enough to be at our worst schools, were disproportionately likely to have missed their grab at the first rung of the ladder. It's not good enough for a government to apologise or shift blame for this onto a botched algorithm. They could have just resat them, or actually resat them, say, in a field. The weather was good enough, was it not? Social distancing exams would have worked, would they not? The only reason they didn't, Douglas, is because of the unions using it and our children as political footballs. The students whose lives were most affected were the smart and aspirational people who this country has always needed and who, at its best, we have always produced. Yeah, I do agree with that part of it, but what did they do to fix it? Well, the algorithm affected 40% of kids' results badly. So what did they do? They gave it back to the teachers, as obviously the teachers should be able to dictate whether the kids got a good score or not from coursework and how they've done so far. Not an infallible way of doing things, but it is better than the algorithm, is it not? And what did the teachers do? Well, we had 40% were affected badly, so when the teachers got hold of it, they gave out 40% A and A stars. So they pretty much made the class of 2020 the not really passed students. No better than low scores in my honest opinion. Employers will skip this whole year. I expect this generation to begin lying about graduation year if it's 2020. I really do. No, it was 2021. I missed graduating in 2020 because the company's going to go, well, we don't know if the paperwork you've got is actually what you've achieved or what you've been given. Am I wrong? Of course, the whole world is now in a slump thanks to coronavirus, and it's important not to be dogmatic when adapting to unusual events. But an element of directional principle, at least, is necessary. A demonstration that you know by instinct the direction in which you should go. As the Chancellor's Eat Out to Help Out scheme has shown, the British public can in fact be coaxed out of their homes and persuaded to get back to aspects of life as normal. Really, Douglas, are you sure about that? Because everyone I've spoken to in regards to the Eat Out campaign is saying that it's crippling restaurants, and the people using the Eat Out service are not taking into consideration they're only allowed one chef, etc, etc, and skeleton staff, and they're still expecting it to be thrown at them at the same time as it would be as a normal running restaurant. Because of that, they're impatient, inconsiderate, and some of them are even violent. I've heard reports that a lot of the restaurants and pubs that serve food and all of the rest are looking to leave that scheme for that reason. But so far, that seems to be the only such scheme that this government has come up with to encourage us out. Elsewhere, it is all mixed messages and the tyranny of the cautionistas. So the Karens and beta males then. Today we see whole cities threatened with another shutdown, not because of thousands of deaths, but because of a couple of dozen non-lethal positive tests. I will not shut down for an illness when they won't publish death rates. Why are they not publishing death rates? Because we'd see that it isn't worth locking down for. That's exactly why they've gone on to infections. Infections mean nothing. I'm done personally. I'll social distance for oldies out of respect for the oldies, not for the government's guidelines, but I'm done with being a good little boy while whole sections of the country take the piss, all backed and watched by the same cops that would arrest me for the same. I have zero respect for any of the rules or double standards policing. Cops, if you're listening, you want my respect back, you need to earn it. It's that simple. But you won't, because your job is more important than your thirst for justice, isn't it? I rest my case. Some people in the public sector in particular appear to be deeply relaxed about the idea of remaining away from the office for the rest of their lives. Middle class that can do that. The working class don't have the luxury, do we? We have to work in supermarkets, warehouses, etc. Not in our country houses or the summer house. What? While the nanny looks after your children as well, isn't it? So easy for you to not go back to work. Now, I have a main issue with that, and it's with the ones that do want to stay at home. They're not actually caring about the knock-on effect of that, i.e., it's going to destroy all public transport, is it not? With the numbers dropping and dropping and dropping because more and more people are staying at home, we won't have public transport, we won't have high street shops. Why won't we? Because they rely on the trade from workers in the city, don't they? To stay at home working now is the most self-centred thing you could possibly do. Who suffers if the high street suffers? I'll tell you, the working class don't do. We rely on the jobs, don't we? So as long as their pay packages keep coming in, a Conservative government ought instinctively to wish to reacquaint these people with responsibility and risk, not to mention the principles of economic reality. So he agrees with me on that one then. I would actually go one further and stop all furlough, then the teachers will go back to work, they won't have an option to stay off. Stop any benefits for staying at home and place a tax incentive to go back, i.e., if you work from home, you pay more tax. Before you say you can't do that, how much would you save from working from home? Think food, travel, uniform, etc. That saved money could be used to bolster the high street they have deserted, in my honest opinion, and therefore save the working class's jobs in the same breath. Other than that, I don't think you should be allowed to work from home. I think you should be forced to go back to work like everybody else, even the poor people. Just because you are capable of working from home doesn't mean that you should. Duty? Oh no, I know. I'm talking about the middle class. They've got neither. On issue after issue, abroad as well as at home, the inability to assert the most basic tenets of Conservative principle is now howlingly plain. At the UN Security Council this past week, the country consistently demonstrated that it wished to sit out the debate over whether Iran should be once again be allowed to start buying armaments from China and Russia. The US urged the UK to stand alongside it and enforce the snapback provisions in the flawed Iran nuclear agreement. As I've been saying for quite some time, the Tories have got no minerals, no stones, so to speak. They've been neutered, haven't they? And it's disgusting to me what they've become, lily-livered lefty cucks. With the Tories, it's not if they will fold to pressure, it's when, isn't it? And they've been like this for a decade. Margaret Thatcher would have instinctively known that this country's best interests lie in ensuring there is no hint of a gap between this country and our most important strategic partner. Exactly. The USA. Boris wouldn't even back the man that backed him on his general election run. You see what I mean by lily-livered? Yet this government has in its spare moments chosen to side with France and Germany and abstain from supporting the US at the Security Council. Why would this country leave the EU only to hold on to the worst and most discredited aspects of European foreign policy? Well, obviously because deep down they still don't want to leave, do they? Even after all we've said and done, they still can't give up their cash train. Because I can't think of any other reason why they would. It has to be paying their back pockets, does it not? I would like to have a full inquest into finances of the Parliament, to be honest. When the British people voted to leave the European Union, we did so hoping that we would once again be able to find our own way forward as a country, to have strong alliances with our most valued partners, but to be able to head out into the world again with the can-do spirit that has made this country great across the centuries. Can I just stop you there, Douglas? The working class still have the can-do attitude. We never changed. It's the middle class, uneducated, educated, and politicians that deserted everything that makes Britain great. Look to them and you see traitor, because I do. After 3.5 years of painful infixability, the electorate finally broke the Gordian knot of Brexit by electing this government. Yet since December we have had precious little given to us to return the trust that we put in them. Throughout this pandemic, the government has hidden behind technocrats. When our history has been attacked, it has been silent or beseeching. When people take advantage of our fundamental decency and system of rules, it fails to stand up for us. And this is why I believe, personally, that when the next election comes, both parties will see their reign destroyed. They've ushered in their own doom, in my opinion. And I worry what will replace them, I really do. But the Tories and Labour can only have themselves to blame. The workers will not be silenced by them, and we will not give up on freedoms. All these things and much more can be fixed, but that can only be done by Boris Johnson and his cabinet reacquainting themselves with the instincts and principles which got most of them into politics in the first place. None of them can be happy about the way in which this country is going. It is time they found their instincts again for the country's good as well as their own. Too late, in my opinion. It's a lost cause, Douglas. But I honour you for trying, I really do. But I don't think there's any clawing back the Tories at this point. They are as far from conservative as Labour, in my opinion. They're just creeping their way there rather than jumping, hop, skip and jumping, aren't they? You know what I mean? My opinion is I'm sick to the bath teeth with all the parties, I'll be honest. They do not represent the people they paid to represent. They only represent themselves and the middle class crybabies and scum lawyers taking the taxpayer for a ride. Tories out, Labour out, let's get someone new. But what say you? I'd like to know your opinion. Do you think this is a valid point that Douglas is making? Because I do. I think most of the things that come out of Douglas's mouth are well grounded, well thought out, intelligent and eloquent. What I do like about Douglas as well, though, he's not an ideologue, is he? If you were to prove any of those points wrong that he's done in his article, he would be the first to say he was wrong. I would also not like to know if you think that the Tories can ever pull this back. Do you think if they stop now, stopped immigration, stopped all of the things that are important to the North, to the Red Wall voters that actually gave them their vote, do you think they can do anything to appease us now? Do you think it's too late? Do you think them systematically allowing them to destroy our nation, our statues, our history, to call us all of the names under the sun for years and years and years and do absolutely nothing about it? Do you think they can actually pull that back, or do you think it's long past now and they're just as bad as Labour? If you're new to the channel, don't forget to hit the like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell icon, everyone. Share it out, please, please, please. I think YouTube are throttling the channel, so I would really appreciate you getting it shared out to social media so that people know that there's a new video up. Thank you, everyone. Stay safe, and I'll see you on the next one.